Okay, hello everybody at YouTube land and people that are part of the CCG community Discord and anybody else like Bond fans and not Bond fans like Ted over here. Not saying that Ted doesn't like James Bond, he just not
Ugh.
really into that, and that's the point of this podcast is that this is someone that's unfamiliar by watching most of the Bond films, but is familiar with, who James Bond is and getting their opinions on the Bond films and comparing them to someone like me who is a James Bond fan. And this is the Cringe Crew Gaming James Bond podcast. I am Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And tonight, we are freshly going to review Live and Let Die, the first Roger Moore Bond film, and I am excited. All right, so this was made in 1972, released in 1973. Oddly enough, released in the United States before the UK. Actually, a month before. And the budget was $7 million, and it made $161.8 million. I think if you don't adjust for inflation, this made more money than Thunderball. So at this point, this is the highest grossing Bond film without going from inflation, without, adjusting for inflation. They chose Live and Let Die, which is the second James Bond novel, which I've actually read. I forgot that I read it until I saw my the first podcast that we did back in Dr. No, talking about which ones that I've read, and yeah, I've actually read Live and Let Die, and that kind of makes me wonder, wow, no wonder why I know so many differences between this and the movie.
Yeah.
That being said,
your camera just scuffed.
I know. It was freezing, so that's why I turned it off.
All right.
Anyway, I've been having internet problems, folks. So, anyway, they chose Live and Let Die because in the early '70s there was a genre of film called blaxploitation, which the name kind of speaks for itself. It's basically like '70s exploitation films that feature a mainly a African American cast. Good films that of the genre that people would probably recognize would be Coffee, Superfly, Shaft, Blackula, and Blackenstein, and personally the most ridiculous one, Black Gestapo. Yes, that is a movie, and I wish I've never heard of it, but it exists. Anyway, so they picked the book where the villain is a bad guy, and the villain in this is based actually on a real life person. Now, the guy was not from my knowledge, a drug dealer as the guy is in this movie, but he was a dictator of the island of Haiti, while this is off of the fictional country San Monique. Dr. Kananga, who's also, spoiler alert, Mr. Big, is based off of Francois Papadoc Duvalier. And he basically used the voodoo religion to scare the populace into obeying his iron fist rule. So much so that he would tell people, not only if you disobey, I'm going to kill you, but I am going to steal your soul and basically turn you into a zombie slave. At that. And needless to say, he scared the shit out of people. And probably also scared the shit out of Ian Fleming and the people that make this movie, for the sheer fact that they didn't film it in Haiti because, dictatorship, and they also changed the island's name.
Reasonable enough.
What's really cool is the theme song is by Paul McCartney and his solo band Wings. And it got nominated for the Academy Awards for Best Original Song. It did not win. However, and unfortunately for how quickly we're doing this, I did not look up to see what lost to it, but regardless, I don't think that song's played on the radio as much as this song is. And out of all the Bond themes, I think this is the one with the longest staying power, radio-wise, because it probably has to do with the GNR cover as well, but I still hear the original version every now and then on the radio. Now, for casting, we have Jane Seymour as the Bond woman, Solitaire. She was a unknown actress, but went on to have great fame afterwards, especially the television series, The London Line. She's also in, I think, Friendsgiving. There's another that's acting career. There's another TV series that she's Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. There we go. She is most famous for Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman, which is I think a British TV series about like a real life doctor, I think. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with it, but it was a really, really big TV series, apparently. The villain, Dr. Kananga, Mr. Big, is played by Yaphet Kotto, who people would recognize as Lieutenant Al Giardello in the TV series Homicide: Life on the Street. And he is also known for his roles in the movie Alien and also The Running Man. He was also in the comedy Midnight Run, where he plays the FBI agent Mosley, who basically gets annoyed at Robert De Niro throughout the entire movie. That being said, Yaphet Kotto enjoyed this role for the most part, and took it because he found the character interesting, that the guy thought he could control the past, present, and the future. He thought that was very, very interesting. We have, for the comedy relief, Clifton James as Sheriff J.W. Pepper. We'll talk about him later. Jeffrey Holder as Baron Samedi, the voodoo god. And yeah, he's more than just a henchman. He's actually legitimately the voodoo god Baron Samedi in this. And what's cool is that Jeffrey Holder actually did the choreography in this movie. So, yeah. And also David Hedison as Felix Leiter, who is going to be shown later as Felix Leiter in License to Kill. And what's really funny is that License to Kill kind of has a similar plot to Live and Let Die's book plot. There is some similarities from the book plot to the movie plot. I'm not going to go into real detail until we get to like License to Kill, because it's a little bit more accurate. But it's kind of cool how like David Hedison plays Felix Leiter, and like, I guess, the original Live and Let Die, and then technically the remake with License to Kill, and is the first Felix Leiter to actually reprise the role. And Felix Leiter will not be seen again until The Living Daylights, which is the first Timothy Dalton film. But anyway, that's pretty much what I got for background information. Besides the fact that apparently Guy Hamilton was brought back because he was a jazz fan. What that has to do with this, I mean, there is jazz in the movie, but what that has to do with like picking the director, especially after like, Diamonds Are Forever was successful, it was, you could bring him back despite contemporary viewing. That's not a very good film. Oh yeah, Roger Moore. I forgot. Yes, this is the first one for Roger Moore. Roger Moore was originally going to be brought in after You Only Live Twice as Sean Connery's replacement. And they were going to film The Man with the Golden Gun. However, due to the Vietnam War, they couldn't shoot it. And then Roger Moore was still under contract in his spy TV series, The Saint, that he starred in. So that was a no-go, and they brought George Lazenby. This time, after Connery left, they knew Connery wasn't going to come back. He's like, I'm never going to play James Bond again. Quote, because we're gonna go back to once we get to like the early 80s, we're gonna remember this. All right, he said he will never ever play James Bond again.
I think we get it.
Which is why there's a film called Never Say Never Again with Sean Connery as James Bond in the 80s. But anyway, Roger Moore finally got the opportunity to play Bond at 45 years old, which is odd, and he is so far the oldest person to debut as Bond, and as well as the oldest person to ever play Bond, because he would play Bond until like 58 or 59. And obviously enjoyed the role of James Bond, and really cemented that James Bond could be played by someone besides Sean Connery, although we say that George Lazenby did a good job, but he was only in, one film. This is a guy that really was gonna stick around.
Sure.
So I guess we're gonna go with likes and dislikes. For me, likes, I guess I have to compare this to Diamonds Are Forever. This is, to me, loads better. Like, even though it has the campy elements of Diamonds Are Forever, I think Guy Hamilton kind of really honed it in. Although, like, I personally like Goldfinger. I think that was just him, like, a shot in the dark. Like, he hit like lightning once in a bottle once and wasn't sure how to capture it with Diamonds Are Forever, but I think he really did capture it in this movie. I think Roger Moore is amazing, especially him just being a smartass. I think he goes into the Bond mold, even though he plays Bond very differently than Sean Connery. There's still some Connery moments with him, but he really does fit this. Fits this type of movie. I also like Yaphet Kotto as Dr. Kananga. I really love the fact that he starts off very subtle, and then at the end of the movie, like the climax, that's when he goes full Bond villain. I really love how he consistently seems to go more unhinged as the movie goes. I also like Jeffrey Holder as Baron Samedi. He has a very, very weird presence throughout the film.
Mm-hmm.
And also, even though the ending with him showing to survived his encounter with Bond and is on the front of the train, as cheesy it is, I kind of like. I also think that Jane Seymour also does a really hell of a job as Solitaire, as opposed to a lot of cases. I think it might also have to help that she's also not dubbed. So, the dialogue doesn't really come as wooden as a lot of cases with previous Bond women. She kind of reminds me a little bit of Tracy, as in fleshed out wise. I do appreciate the writing on that. Action scenes, even though some of them are goofy at times, are really, really good. And of course, as we talked about it before, the theme song. The theme song, I know I said the song for Goldfinger slaps and Diamonds Are Forever slaps, and the music in On Her Majesty's Secret Service slaps. I think this one's the real first true Bond theme banger that anybody can listen to. Just go, oh yeah, that's a good song. So I guess we'll take it to your way. Okay. Then
sure. You mentioned that this one felt like Roger Moore has perfected the character. I know that's weird to say after one film, but he's both a combination of a witty smartass, but he's also still extremely stoic. And I feel like it hits all the notes that Bond should hit. right? Um,
Yeah.
God damn it, your camera turning on and off is kicking my ass. That's fun. So that was a really big plus to me. You mentioned the music, and the sound design was mostly okay. I'll get to it a little bit in dislikes too, but for the most part, I thought the sound was very balanced and well crafted. Honestly, it felt like movie making as a whole advanced 15 years from the last one we saw to this one.
Yeah.
The like the quality of the shots, the like filming of action, I thought was really good. There were several points where it was like, hey, they're using like a really cheap method to make this happen, and it still looks decent. Effects were
Right.
good. Like the quality of movie making went up a lot. I was surprised to hear that the budget was as low as it was.
Yeah, I mean it's probably higher than that because inflation wise, but
Well, sure. Compared to the other ones, like it was in a reasonably the same ballpark.
right,
And that surprised me a lot. Like this felt like it was going to be a much higher budget just in order to create the movie.
right. I think
Um,
this was definitely like a better like use of budget as opposed to
yeah,
like other Bond films.
absolutely. The other thing that I thought was a positive was like this movie was long. I'll get to that more thoroughly in dislikes, but like it definitely stretched longer than it had to. But even then, like in the other
It doesn't
ones,
it doesn't drag
the other ones
ish.
that we said that felt really long, where it was because hey, we could have cut 40 minutes out that was totally unnecessary and nothing happened. There wasn't a moment in this movie where I was like, hey, this isn't important or nothing's happening. Like even though it was long and there was some extraneous bits, there was a whole lot of like there was something
Unne-
always happening.
yeah, there was also like a lot of unnecessary stuff, but you're just like, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. And then just as like an overall whole, I know this is really vague, but this movie was very watchable. Like this didn't feel like I was sitting down because I agreed to do the podcast kind of movie. Like this was actually like enjoyable. I know that I know that's painting with a really broad brush that just like is good, but like genuinely
Ted,
it was
Ted likes it because it's an even number. It's an even numbered Bond film.
no, it was like it was worth continuing to watch. It was it was good. Like I wouldn't tell like this might be the first one that I could say like let's go and rewatch it. It was a quality
Oh
film.
wow, wow. That I'm actually kind of shocked with. I figured From Russia with Love would and On Her Majesty's Secret Service would at least be up there.
You know,
Same with
you know,
maybe Thunderball, but
from Russia with Love, like I would rewatch it and I would enjoy it, but I wouldn't like go out of my way to rewatch
wait,
it.
okay, okay.
It still felt like it was made in the '60s, so it's
Right.
I
I mean
don't want to say
this
timed out, but you know.
right, right. I know this one is definitely reeks of the 70s, and I kind of love it for that.
It wasn't as bad as I was expecting in that department, as you said it, but there were still a lot of 70s
Especially my
vibes.
favorite line in the entire movie. Dave's is for tombstones, baby. Best line ever.
All right, looks like your webcam froze again there. You got a
Okay.
nice goofy face.
Oh well. I guess you'll have to deal with the goofy face.
Perfect.
All right.
If you don't mind, we'll transition into dislikes because I know I've referenced it a couple times in my likes. While the sound was balanced and like quality, there were several moments, especially in the second half of the movie, where like there were just silences for seemingly no reason. And a lot of times when they filled that weird silence, it was reusing the theme that didn't necessarily felt like it fit. So sound design was good. The music scoring was bad.
Yeah, they do use the Live and Let Die theme quite a bit in this movie where it's a little bit it's almost kind of like Dr. No where they just use the James Bond theme out of nowhere for no it's like oh so why is the James Bond theme playing? Well, he's walking to the bar.
Yeah.
Okay.
I noticed it during the boat chase scene, right? Where like there was a like probably a 5 to 10 minute stretch of you can hear the boat engines and then there's no chase music, there's no music to build action, there's not just nothing to it. They get out of that scene where he like parks the boat, gets back on shore, and there's no like relieving of the tension with the
Right.
music. It's they played Live and Let Die again. Like it just the music scoring was pretty bad. I also mentioned too that like this movie was long. I feel like
2 hours and 1 minute.
Well, long in the sense that like they added a whole lot that they didn't need to.
Oh yeah,
there were several
Yeah.
points that like they put it in there because they thought it would be cool, and a lot of times they were right, it was, but it just wasn't necessary to the movie. I think you
with
could
the airplane, you could have done with like either just the boat chase as opposed to the airplane chase and the boat chase.
yeah, like
But
and you know what was the other like the fucking cop, like
oh yeah, well, that's a dislike for me too. Sheriff J.W. Pepper.
yeah, you mentioned as we were watching, like I trust that like it doesn't make sense for him to be in a future one without being in this one, and I kind of have to take your word for that for now.
Yeah,
But
I'll say this. This is my personal opinion. Okay, I like him in the Man with the Golden Gun, which is after this. But I will tell you this much: the Man with the Golden Gun is a guilty pleasure of mine. I don't necessarily think it's objectively a good movie.
I just
Spoiler alert.
he had so many lines to be so stupid, and he could have just been a nameless, faceless cop with absolutely no relevance. Like they there were several bits that they just like that were completely extraneous. Sort of in the same vein, I thought that the like while the plot was good, while he was very Bond, I feel like they overplayed their hands quite a few times.
Yeah, there's a few times.
Like it just over embellishes Bond's immunity. And
yeah, I do. Another thing that I actually have to say, a big complaint of mine, is that he never feels like he's kind of in danger at all, and I kind of like that with like Connery and Lazenby. They at least somewhat kind of like were sure of themselves that they were in danger, while Roger Moore's just like, oh, okay, it's just a typical day at the office, which I guess, if you're a super spy, that would be a typical day at the office, but
no, see, even that didn't bother me so bad. Like I commented that I thought he was very stoic, and like I felt like it fit the character. The weird part for me where like they were overselling their hand is like at the end where the guy blows up. Like they could have filled him with air to the point that he suffocated, right? They didn't need to blow him up like a balloon. He hits the ceiling and explodes. Like it just there's so many times that it felt like they overplayed their hand. They did more than they had to do, and then they realized they were in too deep and just needed to sell out.
And I have to say, that was, as silly as that is, I would have preferred the book death, because in the book he actually gets eaten by sharks and a barracuda. And I have a feeling like that probably would have been a better fitting ending, but apparently they're just like, Guy Hamilton, being the pre-Michael Bay that he is, not good enough.
Yeah, like he was already in the water. There was already blood in the water, and the sharks were on the way. So they're like, let's blow him up. Yeah, like it just they overplayed their hands a handful of times. I'd be remiss to not mention the racism. I know that was the genre of films, but like it felt so belittling to an entire race of people. Like if they could have come out and said they're animals, they would have done it here. Like it was very diminishing and overt.
I will say this in like defense of at least the screenwriter. He did want Solitaire to be a black woman, but unfortunately that was nixed because the movie would have got banned in South Africa. So therefore, although Solitaire is white in the book, they were actually going to switch it to basically, hopefully, they realized how sensitive this would have been, just like, all the villains being black. They wanted to at least have like, more good people that were of like the same race, but unfortunately, apartheid in South Africa was a thing, and they wanted to sell the movie there.
And in a similar vein,
Which
like
somehow, like they were fine with you. South Africa was fine with You Only Live Twice.
I I don't know about
I
all
don't.
that, but
Yeah.
in a similar vein, as they're demoralizing an entire race of people.
Yeah.
I have to say that I didn't like the villain from this movie. I
Oh.
I thought he was like a well-developed character, but his hubris ruined the positives that were there for the character. Like, okay, so he had multiple opportunities to just kill him if that was his only goal. But like you mentioned that like
All right.
he never feels like he's, in danger. Like the very last time, like right before he blows up, he's got him tied to a metal cage. He's got sharks in the water, but instead of just like stabbing him, letting him like bleed almost to death and then dropping him in the water, he's just like, yeah, dangle him there for a little bit so I can watch the sharkies swim. It just, he's so full of himself, and like it diminishes the positives of his character, and I think that kind of played into them like belittling the race. It felt very much the same to me.
Well, especially kind of like near the beginning when he actually is like, yeah, take him out the back and shoot him, like,
right.
It's like, like, wow, like a real smart thing to do. And then, as I said, at the end, he finally goes full Bond villain with the stereotype of, I'm just going to fuck around for way too long. And then, oh shit, he escapes. And then, oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, it just, like, I
not the only Bond villain to do that, but honestly, kind of like I don't know. Would Blofeld in the last film fall under that stereotype?
I think,
or
it's
would this be the start?
I think it's a little different, right? Like Blofeld was obviously full of himself, but it didn't feel like he was giving Bond the opportunity to get away. It felt like Bond earned his way away. This time it felt like he did everything because he felt he couldn't lose and like gave it away. And I don't know, that really diminished a character that I otherwise probably would have enjoyed.
All right, I get that.
I have one more positive I didn't mention, but it was just such a small thing. Right. Bond counted his bullets. He fired 6, and then he stopped firing the gun. He stopped pointing it. He ran immediately for the machete. I'm so proud. A director who knows how weapons work.
I guess your criticism of Goldfinger of the shaky gun went through like a wormhole, and then he heard it. Oh shit, count the bullets.
Oh man, okay, but the negative then that reminded me of that positive is that some of the effects just, I don't know if it got lazy or if like it was what they were capable of doing. Notably, the snakes were very bad. I
mean, they did use real snakes, but there's a few like it's like, well, that's obviously a python, but not that they were gonna. I mean, I don't know if it was like hard to get defanged snakes back then, but WWE was managed to get like a defanged king cobra for Jake the Snake to have it bite Randy Savage, but that was also like late 80s.
And like I said, like it might be my ignorance of what was available in the 70s, you know what I mean? But like it,
and this is early 70s too, so
right. I mean, whether it's defanged or not, like whether it became clear that once it became anything close to a threat, like or could have pretended to have been a threat, that they just made it a plastic snake. I don't think they did enough like to sell the fact that those effects were not real. And then there was one other practical effect that was on that list that I don't remember. There was one good one that I noticed at the end of the movie. Like it actually surprised me. When the first time the Voodoo King comes out of the ground, he shoots him and it's prosthetic after you've watched him blink. I thought that was pretty cool. But even once they sold through that, then like I guess it kind of diminished itself again. They could have done more with the camera work, I guess, to make those less realistic effects appear better. Even if they were limited by what they had available to them, they could have manipulated it to make it work.
Yeah, and even if they were going to like inflate and explode like Dr. Kananga, they could have at least made it like less obvious that it's a, I guess for a lack of a better word, a blow up doll.
I mean, yeah, like I said, if it had been filmed from the back or faster or from a different angle or with different lighting, like it could have been sellable, but it was literally just an inflatable doll. Like there were several points where they could have played around with it and made it better and didn't.
But I honestly don't have much to add. Uh, I will say, wait, I do. Even though like the prosthetic of like the Teehee's like claw arm, like it's like at the beginning of the film, it doesn't really look that great, but at least at the end of the film, where it shows like the entire arm, that actually was actually.
Yeah, with the practical effect, that the beginning, it was very clearly like you could see where his hand was grabbing the metal claw inside his jacket sleeve that had been very clearly extended on one side and not the other. That was same idea in the same vein.
But yeah, so I will agree there is inconsistencies between like effects. But I'd say with me overall, I actually really enjoy this movie. It's spoiler, not my favorite, but like it's definitely like it's definitely a movie that I can put if it's on, or if I get in the mood, I can definitely put it on and I won't regret watching it.
Yeah. Stahlman's getting robotic and his camera's frozen again, so I think we'll wrap this one up and then we can do rankings for this one and next week's film all at the same time. Just kind of throw them in the list that way.
Am I fine right now?
Nah, it's still super robotic.
God damn it!
Well, it was clear there, but I feel like we should wrap it up and take what
yeah,
we've got.
I was about to say. I'd say overall, I'm fine. I'm gonna put I think I'm gonna put this between Thunderball and Goldfinger. So this will be like my number 4.
I can solidly put this one at number 3. I think a lot of the reason I'll put it there is mostly because it's rewatchable. Like this was genuinely a good film. It had its kind of shitty aspects, but overall I thought it was good and would enjoy watching it a second time if the opportunity arose. I'm hoping this means good things for the future too. Like I really liked Roger Moore. I liked the way that the plot was written, and this sticking to the Bond form. That this one actually genuinely makes me believe that the next few will be pretty good.
I will tell you this much. Even in the ones that I consider that are bad in the Moore era, Roger Moore's not bad in them. I can at least guarantee you that. Like Roger Moore will always actually be good in it. It's just whether the movie itself is bad or not.
Oh, fair enough. All right. I think this is a good place to wrap up before we get Robotic Stahlman back again.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. As always, thanks for checking this one out. You can watch the future movies with us on Tuesdays in the Discord.
Next one's going to be The Man with the Golden Gun, and this time the villain is Christopher Lee.
Yeah, I was going to say, but by the time you see this, I'm sure we've already watched it because we're like 4 weeks ahead of schedule. So, follow us on Twitch, hop in the Discord. Everything will be linked below. And thanks for checking this one out, and we'll see you guys next week.